Hey neighbor, today we're going to give you 3 tips on how to bring a bed back to life. We're here in Mama Hoss's protege garden, and she's got a dead bed, a bed that is underperformer. It's not performing like the rest of them, just something's going on there. Today we're going to give you the 3 tips we're going to use to bring this bed back to life where it keeps up with the rest of them. As you can see here, the majority of her garden does extremely well. We got these raised beds in here, we got this irrigation system. Everything's just doing wonderful. These dwarf sunflowers are looking good. She's got herbs growing. She grows an amazing garden down here, but there's one exception. That is this bed right here. Now this is what I call an elevated bed. It's not necessarily a raised bed. She's got these rocks here. She elevates this bed, I don't know, a good 8 inches there. And Mama Hoss's protege garden is a mixture of these elevated beds and raised beds. It works out good because it gives a little bit different dimension to the garden. We love these rocks here. But this one bed right here just don't grow things off like the rest of them. It just lays back, the plants turn yellow. They just don't do good there. Out of the whole garden, we got this bed here that just always gives us trouble. So the first tip is to check your irrigation or your watering. With this garden here, we've got a complete automated irrigation system in here to make life easier, and it works well. However, some plots need different water requirements. These elevated beds are not going to take the amount of water these raised beds are, and an in-ground that's flat is not going to take as much as these elevated beds. So the first thing we need to do is to check and make sure the bed is getting the correct amount of water, because all these different beds are going to require different amounts of water. If you have too much water in the bed, then the plants are not going to respond. The nutrients are going to be tied up. The plants are going to rot. They're just going to drown out. They're going to have that yellow look to them. If they're not getting enough water, they're not going to grow off right. So the ample amount of water for a bed consistent with the soil type it is and the type of bed is really important. So what I'm going to do for her is I'm going to put cutoff valves on this particular bed up here at the main line. You can see here I've already pulled all the drip tubing back. And I'm going to put her some cutoff valves out there, up here, so she can manage this bed separately according to the requirements it needs. Second thing to do is take a soil sample. The main thing we want to know out of this bed is what is the pH there? Is something off with our soil nutrient or the pH of the soil? With a soil test, we're going to get results back on potassium and phosphorus and some other minor elements. But the main thing I'm looking for is the pH level for this bed right here. If the pH is too high or too low, it's going to cause those plants to be stunted. The nutrients that we put in this soil here are not going to be available to the plant because the pH have those tied up. Ideally, what we want is a pH between 6 and 7. Pull a soil sample. You're going to need a soil sample bag. Let's get this packing paper here out of the way. And you're going to need something to pull that soil sample. Now this is the kit that we sell right here. You can also get a soil sample from your local county extension agents. They'll send it to your local land grant university and they can do the soil sample. We have a soil sample kit here at Hoss that has some of the extra things you can need. But to be honest with you, you can do both ways, whichever suits you the best. But today I'm going to be using our system here. Okay, so we got the box here that the soil sample comes in. Inside of that box is a little stainless steel tool here that we use to pull the soil sample. Now it's important that you use a stainless steel tool to pull the soil sample. If you use regular metal, it can alter the soil sample and not make it accurate. So we want to make sure that we use stainless steel to pull that sample. We normally want to pull about 4 to 6 inches of a sample core there. And you can see this tool right here is perfect. This right here. I'm going to stick it to the ground, I'm going to twist it, then that releases the soil there. When we pull that soil sample, we want to use a plastic container. We don't want to use a metal container. So there again, that metal in that container can alter the contents of that soil and make it not a good soil sample. So you want to use a good plastic bucket to put your sample into, but to pull your sample, a stainless steel tool. Now I'm just going to go through this bed right here and I'm going to reach down there and I'm going to core me out a sample there, just like that. But I'm going to get a few different ones down through here. I want to get what we call a representative sample. Sometimes you may have to kind of hip it out a little bit. Now this little small bed here, I'm going to do probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different samplings right there. All right, and you can see here, I got a sample all the way through there. I'm gonna release that into my little plastic pail here. Now that I have got that, I'm just gonna mix this up. Now this soil today is a little wet, we've had some rain. Ideally, you'd want it a little bit drier than that. But I'm gonna mix that up. I'm gonna take my soil sample bag and I'm gonna fill it up to that line right there of a sampling of the soil. I got more soil than I need in this bag for this bag, but that's perfect. All right, after I get my soil sample pulled, see this right here? You take your phone, take a picture of that, and this carries you to an area to register your soil sample. It's pretty easy. Heck, I'm an old man, and I'm a little challenged on technology, but even I can do this. You go there and you register your soil sample. This number on the bag and this number on the back side of the card here are the same. You want to register that to this right here, and what that does, it ties this soil sample back to you. So when we get the results back, we'll know whose soil sample it is. All right, so now I'm gonna fold my soil sample down and close that bag a couple of times, just like that right there, tab it over. You've already got a shipping label inside of the box when you receive your soil sample. So we're gonna close this box back up. You can put your little tape on there just for, make sure during shipment it doesn't come undone. You've got your label right here that the soil sample was sent to you. This label right here, we're gonna peel it off and we're gonna put it directly right on top of that label. And that goes to the lab so we can get your soil sample results. Drop this off at the post office anywhere, and this label is already prepaid and it'll be sent to the lab. And inside we've got those numbers that you registered so they know when they get the sample here that it's your soil sample. In just a few days, you will receive an email from us showing you what your sample read or what it consists of. That's going to list a whole different things, but for this bed right here in particular, I'm mostly interested in pH. If my pH is too high, we're going to give you recommendations how to lower it. If it's too low, we're going to give you recommendations on how to bring it up and get it within that 6 to 7 zone there. Now, if you're 5.9 or you 7.1, that's not a lot to be concerned about, but if we're in the low 5s or the high 8s, then we know exactly what our problem was. Our pH was out of whack, and we have to correct that to make this soil and this bed be like it should and to grow off those beautiful plants. Now, the third tip is to add something to your soil such as carbon. Biochar that I have right here is a wonderful product to use in beds that are underperformers because biochar is a carbon source. Now, it's a little different from charcoal. The process of the way this was manufactured is different, but it is a carbon source that was heated up to very high temperatures in a low oxygen atmosphere. And this makes this stuff just like a sponge. Now, the reason I like to use biochar, if I have any contaminants in my soil, this biochar is going to act like a big sponge and it's going to draw those contaminants out of it. And that very well may be our issue here is contaminants. If we do have contaminants in our soil, then our soil sample is not necessarily going to pick that up. With a combination of the water, checking our soil sample, and now we're checking for contaminants in our soil and also contaminants, and we're adding carbon in there so we're putting more nutrient holding capacities in our soil here. Now this bag right here is 1 cubic feet, and the instructions on this bag was to spread it out and incorporate it on a 4x8 raised bed. It takes a good bit of this stuff right here to make a difference. Now my bed here is a little bit larger than that, but she only plants in the middle, so I'm just going to treat the middle part of this bed. I'm also going to add in some good quality compost right here. See this right here? That is black gold compost, some really good stuff. It acts a little different than our biochar does. Our biochar is going to be like a sponge to soak all that up. Our compost is to make our microorganisms more active, to put more carbon back in the soil, just like we're doing with our biochar. It's also going to have some effect on our soil and make our soil happier and healthier. Now on biochar, you're going to see a lot of marketing material on the bag there that I don't necessarily agree with. It says on here, it will make your plants healthier. Well, in a weird kind of way, it improves the health of any soil, and that's, in a weird kind of way, it does not have any nutrient inside of this biochar. So don't count on it having any nutrients inside there. Our compost, on the other hand, has some nutrient value to it. You see how loose it is there? It's really fine. On biochar, the finer the biochar, the better it is in my opinion here. This brand right here, Wakefield, it's a pretty good source of biochar. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle this out on this bed in the middle of it. I'm going to use this whole bag on this little bitty bed right here. Same thing on my compost, just going to kind of spread it out. At this point, we're just going to mix this in the best we can. Now this is a little small bed right here, and I can't get a tiller in here. If I could get a tiller in here, that's probably what I'd use. A broad fork would work, but I got a digging fork here, and I'm just going to kind of mix this up the best I can. Okay, so to recap, check your water. If you plant it in a low spot that's always staying wet, you may have to end up moving that spot, okay? Because there's not a big fix for that unless you add enough soil or compost and everything to raise it up. Check if it's getting too much water. Treat this bed differently. Put you some cutoff valves up there so you can monitor it and give it the amount of water it needs, but not too much. Soil sample. We want to check our pH is the main thing, but also with that added benefit, we get to check the nutrient load of other elements in our soil here. But the main thing is to have that pH in balance. And number 3, get something in that soil to increase your carbon and to take away any contaminants if you have those in the soil. We're talking about too much of a particular nutrient or some type of chemical that may have caused your plants to really struggle. This biochar is going to help tremendously with drawing those contaminants out of the soil and making that soil hold nutrients and make them available to the plant better. And of course, good quality compost always helps. It's easy to get frustrated when we have that one bed that just doesn't do right, but there are ways we can fix it.